Mr. Kokofu, I'll start with you. Your thoughts so far on the president meeting the leaders of the Christian community, and he said there were 9 cases. I'm not sure if that was a mistake or you want to address that for us.
Well, good morning to our cherished viewers and to the leadership of our land, particularly the president, my colleague, panelists, your good self. I did not hear that part, or we did not hear that part, but then the president has spoken. And it's important to note that we, as a people, as Ghanaians, majority of us being in the Christendom, we tend to God whenever there is the need to. In fact, all the time, when in critical moments like this, the best and the appropriate way to do is to seek divine intervention, whilst we do the needful as a people, the physical and all other measures that we put in place. So it's in order that the president has called in this breakfast prayer meeting at the seat of government, and then wanting to wish the whole nation the well-being. The clergy, both the Christian and the Muslim or the Islam, have shown considerable interest in trying to fight against this pandemic. The chief imam had on several occasions asked the Muslim community to comply with whatever directives that have been put in place, and that he has encouraged all and sundry to desist from the mass gathering, even at the point of prayers, gathering for prayers on Fridays. And it's encouraging that individuals and few groups of people can do that in glory to Allah and to their faith. And to the Christians, the same thing that we're doing. I know as we progress, maybe by Friday, the Muslim community may also engage in this aspect. So it's a very good thing for the nation, healing the soul of the nation and all that. But we should be quick, or we should understand that this is a global phenomenon. It is something that is not peculiar to Ghana alone. Indeed, we may even count ourselves a bit lucky for quite a time before this disease was imported into our country. And it is a fact that none of us, local citizens, contracted the disease in the first instance. None of us. All the cases that we've reported were imported into the country. All people who were coming from outside, whether Ghanaians or non-Ghanaians. So God has been so good to us as a nation, having traversed the 63 years of independence up to today. And we're still struggling though, but most of the things God has spared us. Globally, it's happening, and we've had our share. It is for us to come together as a people under the umbrella of the Almighty God to fight the menace. And I know, just as the President said, this one too shall pass. We shall go through it.
Thank you very much. Felix, your thoughts on the President holding a prayer breakfast meeting as part of the efforts to fight coronavirus in Ghana?
Well, in fact, there can be no complaints whatsoever about any effort to mobilize or galvanize people to offer prayers at a critical time like this when we are confronted with such a challenge. Indeed, only yesterday, the National Democratic Congress took the lead in that regard when our national chairman issued a directive to all our members to observe 3 days of prayer. And we indeed invited all Ghanaians to join in that effort, so that in addition to all the steps that have been taken, we seek God's intervention to avert a much bigger catastrophe than we already have. So there can be no complaints at all that the president would join in the effort and invite prominent men of God to lead the nation in prayers. Faith has a place in the affairs of men, and to the extent that we continue to abide by that faith, it is all well and good to pray to God. That said, it is imperative that even as we offer prayers, the leaders of this country act in good faith and do the things that are necessary to prevent a spread of coronavirus beyond what we already have. There are a number of measures that the president announced in his last broadcast to the nation. I believe that was on Sunday. Subsequent to that, the Minister of Information has also put out some other government directives. There have been briefings from other government agencies. Yesterday, the the Deputy Controller General of the Ghana Immigration Service was also on hand to provide some updates. Because of these measures, we have had to cut back as a people on social and public gatherings. There's this new phenomenon of social distancing. Organizations have asked their employees to work from home. Schools have been closed. Churches are no longer operating. Businesses have had to roll back on their operations. So we are bearing the brunt of this as a nation, and we are all contributing to ensure that we keep this disease at bay. Regrettably, there are state institutions that are acting contrary to what the president directed should be done. And the indication one gets is that the government is singing at both sides of its mouth. In one breath, they are purporting to lead an effort to curb the spread of the disease. And in another breath, they are acting in ways that will facilitate the spread of the disease.
How
and I
so?
refer specifically to the conduct of the National Identification Authority. The president's directive was clear in that broadcast on Sunday that public gatherings have been banned. Even people who have lost relatives have been asked to roll back significantly in terms of the numbers that they bring to bear on mourning their relatives. So only about 25 people are allowed to go and bury a dead relative. I'm sure that families would have to postpone funerals to a later date when the coast is clear. So you would expect state agencies to lead the way. The activity of registering people is a mass one. It is an activity that draws large crowds. So they are in the eastern region, and they started this exercise before this disease struck. The president issues a directive that public gatherings should be avoided. And yet the NIA goes ahead with this registration. And I have seen pictures. If you've not seen it, I can furnish you with pictures and videos of how people have massed up and have huddled together in very close proximity.
But they issued a statement for their staff to follow as far as ensuring that you don't have more than 25 people.
All the organizations.
You are properly sanitized.
All the organizations.
You are respecting social distancing.
There are two things. All the organizations who have had to cut back on their activities and hold on to the things that they are doing. The schools. There are schools. My child attends a school that does not have more than 20 people in a class. So you could say technically they qualify to operate if there are not more than 25 people rule were to be applied. But the school has closed down as a precaution to ensure that the children do not contract that disease.
No, we'll come to the NIA later on.
So if schools are complying with this, why should the NIA say that they have measures that will prevent the spread? The second point is that what they are doing in practice is at variance with what they put on that in that statement. They are not complying with their own statement. I've told you about the pictures. I've told you about the, and they are all over social media. And I'm sure your organization has the capacity to verify this. But the point I seek to make that what they are doing is inherently dangerous and exposes the participants in this exercise to danger. But I am not sure that the NIA on their own volition can continue to act in defiance of the president if they don't have the express backing of the president. So a critical issue of duplicity and insincerity arises out of this. Is it the case that the president sees political advantage in what the NIA is doing, and so he's closing his eyes and exposing the people taking part in this registration to danger? If that is happening, of what use will be the prayer breakfast this morning? Why do you pray to God when you are acting in ways that expose your own people to danger? There must be some consistency and a nexus between the various actions that take place, even as we attempt to fight this disease. Look, at this stage, whereas I am all for the measures that the president has announced to control the spread of this disease, I'm unable to say that he is acting with sincerity. And I deeply regret the fact that all of us have been made to believe that we are fighting this together, and yet things are being done to undermine that very fight. I think that the NIA registration must stop. Indeed, Dziffa, the Ghana Medical Association.
Yes.
And the Medical Association...
Since you've brought it up,
I
think I'll just read from citinewsroom.com, and it says here, suspend ongoing Ghana card registration now. That's coming from the Ghana Medical Association to the NIA. So the Ghana Medical Association is demanding an immediate suspension of the Ghana card registration in the Eastern region. The government of Ghana on Sunday, the 15th of March 2020, as part of efforts to stop the spread of coronavirus, announced the new public gathering advisories, and that included the ban of conferences, churches, mosques, workshops, festivals, and even restaurants have taken the charge as far as closing down to avoid people spreading coronavirus. NIA is continuing to register people. Some of their own workers have come out to say that they don't feel safe because even the hand sanitizers and other resources that were supposed to be provided them have not been done. So they don't feel safe registering people. So, Felix, yes. I'll allow you
so the Ghana Medical Association
that,
is not just an association. It is an association of doctors and medical experts. So they are in a much better position to know about the harm of encouraging what the NIA is doing. And they have come out clearly to state that the NIA must put a stop to this because they are creating conditions for the spread of the very COVID-19 that we are all scared of, and for which reason we've had to observe all these measures that the president has spoken about. As I speak to you, there's a bill in Parliament to give what the president has asked us to do teeth and legal backing. So on what basis is the NIA continuing? And doing so in a way that appears to completely ignore any safety precautions whatsoever. And if you come across the pictures, if you see what is happening there, you'll be in no doubt that both their staff and members of the public taking part in this exercise have been exposed to extreme danger. And now I'm asking the question, that how is it that the NIA is confident enough to go ahead to do this at this time when the president has said that such activities should be brought to an end? So I have no doubt that they are doing this with the backing of the president or the government machinery. And so it creates a difficulty for those of us who are willing to help government overcome this fight. See our way clearly. It is not clear that government is really determined to do away. It appears to me that to the extent that some political advantage inures to government, they are willing to make an exemption. They are willing to close their eyes and allow people to be exposed to danger. It is most unfortunate. Otherwise, we agree entirely with what government is doing, to the extent that it is sincere, to the extent that it results in avertment or in the prevention of the spread of this deadly disease. But government must act quickly. The NIA must put an immediate end to the registration.
Okay, so we'll hear from Mr. Kokofu. Sure. We'll have to go for a quick break. This is still Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. We want to hear from you, so wherever you're watching us from on social media, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily, and the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us again. If you're watching us on social media, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily. If you want to reach us directly, the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. Before the break, we're discussing the Ghana Medical Association asking NIA to suspend registering people because they are actually creating a platform for people to potentially spread the coronavirus. We already know that a lot of people are practicing social distancing to ensure they don't pass the virus on, especially since some people don't even show symptoms of the virus when they are tested positive. Mr. Kokofu, your thoughts on this?
Yes, this NIA issue and Eastern region. Personally, I'm inclined to go with the Ghana Medical Association's assertion. However, I'm quick to disagree with my colleague panelists here that NIA has the tacit support of the president, and to the effect that the president is doing double, or the government is doing double action, saying that we should stop this and all that. How can that be? If you read the release that NIA put it out there, it recognizes the president's assertion or the president's order to stop all that. But they said, however, they've put in place certain measures that may, in their own estimation, not countenance the protection or all that we seek to do, preventing the disease. In that, they, in their own thinking, the president said there should not be funeral. However, between 20 to 25 people can congregate and do what needs to be done or what ought to be done. So they had also gone by the same line and put some measures in place. By reports filtering in, including the officers on the ground, are saying contrary to what the directives are. And their own release talks about under strict conditions. So if those strict conditions are not seen to be working, then the obvious thing is to put an end to it. So, but it should not be said, as he tried to put it, to compromise the president's stand in this. At this crucial moment, the president keeps on saying that we are not in normal times, we are not in ordinary times. It's a very difficult moment that we all find ourselves in. So in an attempt to combat the disease by way of prevention and all other measures, it is important that we leave out political undertones and all those things out of the whole thing. How is it going to benefit the president politically with this exercise of registering Ghanaians on the NIA? I mean, how is it going to be? These are Ghanaians, and these are it's a national agenda, it's a national program, a national project that we get ourselves registered. Most regions have been gone through or have gone through, and it is up to Eastern region to continue. And unfortunately, this thing broke out. So, yes, if per the assertion of GMA, and we think the congregation is much bigger than the anticipated 25 people, and again, the strict conditions set up are not being adhered to on the ground, then the good thing to do is to put a temporary stop to it. That one, I go for it. But I disagree that the president and the government have something to gain from the registration. And I'm surprised. I don't know what that kind of assertion means. The usual propaganda and the usual getting the president out of for nothing. I mean, going for the president out of nothing.
Okay, so yesterday, the pastor of the Open Arms Ministry in Kumasi actually met with his people, and the police went there to arrest him for defying the president's order. On the other hand, NIA is going on to meet with, we've had reports of over 50 people meeting there. You see them sitting on benches right next to each other, not even respecting the social spacing that they're supposed to practice. The release you mentioned on the second page, they admitted themselves that they don't even have access to hand sanitizers for their workers. Shouldn't the police go in and arrest NIA?
Well, maybe you're asking the police to do so.
I'm asking you what you think the police should do since they arrested the pastor.
No. I cannot ask the police to go and arrest him. I did not ask the police to go in for the pastor.
Should they have gone in to arrest the pastor for meeting with his people after the president banned churches from meeting? Well,
I do not know what really went into, and I cannot sit here and speculate. It may not necessarily be that they just congregated and the police went in. Maybe other things might have followed.
Which you're not supposed to meet. That was part of the president's directive.
Yes, but have you gotten from the police what necessitated the arrest?
Yes, he defied the president's order.
That's what the police saying.
That's what's out there. Yes, and there are videos to prove it.
Is that on the charge sheet, or is that the complaint?
Okay.
If it is, well, it is for the police to deal with it. But then let's get to this point. The NIA activity is a national project. It's something that has been sanctioned by the nation in itself, and it's embedded in law.
Okay.
The activities are not just an individual or a group of people coming together to do something on their own and for their own. This is for the people of Ghana and backed by law. However, I agree to the fact that the president has issued a ban, and that all are expected to respect the ban. Like I said earlier on, the NIA, in his own wisdom, might have thought that they can put in measures to meet the 25 minimum people getting
But
together.
they are clearly not doing that.
That's what I'm saying.
And they even admitted it in their own release.
That's what I'm saying.
And this is a government agency.
And that is
so is it okay to assume that they have the backing of the government if they're continuing to do this?
No, they do not have the backing of the government. And I'm saying that if the entire public or the entire populace have come to realize that the measures, or they themselves have realized that the measures they put in place in order to assuage the fears and the anxiety are not working, then I go with the Ghana Medical Association's assertion. And as a matter of fact, there is a need for them to put a temporary hold on the activity.
So you agree that they should suspend the activity?
I have said it on countless occasions.
That's fine. Thank you very much. We do have to update you that official number of people affected by coronavirus in Ghana is now 9, and it has been confirmed by the Information Minister, Kojo Pon Nkrumah. So we now have 9 cases, and NIA is continuing to register people. I'll hear your final thoughts on this, and then we'll move on. And the president also mentioned it earlier at the breakfast meeting.
There is a political motive for why the NIA is doing what they are doing. And I'll come to that presently. You see,
but beyond politics, what threats will this pose for the general public?
The threat is obvious.
Who
I don't
may
need to
still want to go out to register
to vote. The
threat
is so obvious. I don't need to spell them out. You yourself know. I mean, when you see how the people are huddled together, we are talking about 100 to 200 people. Some of them are in queues, so close to each other. Some of them touching each other, pressing on each other. And that is in direct contravention of what the president asks everybody else to do. Let me indicate that the measures that the president announced on Sunday are not necessarily lawful in that they are not steeped in law. It is now that government is going to Parliament to seek legal backing for. So what we have been doing really is only to comply with the president's request. The president's word is not necessarily law. So yesterday when the police went to the church to purport to arrest the priest, they were not doing so on the basis of any law, but perhaps on account of the fact that they expect the church to know better and not conduct themselves in ways that expose the public to danger, the danger of contracting the COVID-19 disease. Now, the NIA, unlike this church, which is a private entity, which it is actually not compelled by law to comply with the president's directive, is a state organization. They work under the direct ambit of government. The chief executive officer of the NIA is a direct appointee of government. So the president has authority over him. The president can remove him from office today for any reason, and the president does not need to explain himself to anybody for removing the man. So the president has an overwhelming influence on the chief executive officer of the NIA, and by extension, the work of the NIA. Now, when the government wanted schools to close, what did they do? They asked the Ghana Education Service to issue directives, because the Ghana Education Service is a regulator of schools. So through that, they kicked into motion a mechanism to achieve that. All that needs to be done is for somebody in government to call the NIA boss and tell him to suspend the activity, and it will be done. And I'm telling you that you don't need to be a magician, you don't need to be a soothsayer to be able to say that the NIA is operating because they have the support of government. Now let me come to the political motive. And you see, there's a difference between politicization and exposing a political motive. So when I say this, I don't do that in order to single out the president for political attacks. That's not what I'm doing. But everybody watching would agree with me that what the NIA is doing is extremely dangerous. You yourself have expressed a concern, Mr.
I was asking him the question.
But yes,
definitely. He's also admitted to it.
He is admitted to the
Ghana Medical Association
that people are exposed to. But the reason why it is going on, and Dziffa, mind you, this has gone on since Monday. It's been 4 clear days. The government cannot claim that they have been unaware that the NIA is doing this, and all the concerns you've expressed there have been in place since Monday. Today is Thursday, and there is still no effort to rein in the NIA. And I'm saying that the reason that is happening is that the president and his party have a vested interest in what the NIA is doing. I'll explain it to you. You know that
briefly, because we have to wrap up.
You know that as we speak, the Electoral Commission has taken a CI amendment bill to Parliament. That CI says that to register to become a voter, so that you can vote in the 2020 elections, you need just 2 forms of identification, a passport and a Ghana card. Now, the Eastern region is the backyard of the president.
And that is not
We will come to you to clarify that. But the EC story is actually the last one. So
I'll delve into it in detail. But I'm only establishing the political motive. Why the NIA is not being stopped. despite government's awareness of what they are doing and the danger that it poses to all of us.
Okay.
The Eastern region is the second most important region politically for the president and the New Patriotic Party. The EC is going to make the national identification card a key requirement for voter registration. The EC is hell-bent on carrying on their registration by the 18th. And they are on record to have said that they are going to carry on, despite the threat of COVID-19. So they are in a hurry to ensure that as many people as possible in their stronghold lay hands on the Ghana card. In doing so, they are endangering the lives of people. Dziffa, otherwise, why would the NIA continue to do what they are doing?
Well, these are all speculations.
No, you see, it is informed analysis. It's not speculation.
Okay.
Dziffa, when I come to your house, I don't know whether you have children.
No, I don't.
But when I see your children misconducting themselves, and you sit down as a mother and you know that what they are doing will result in specific harm, and you don't rein them in, who bears the brunt? There must be a reason why you are turning a blind eye to what they are doing. And I'm saying that nobody can convince me that the president is not aware of what the NIA is doing. And that the president does not know that what the NIA is doing is exposing people to danger. The very thing that he is purporting to tackle through the numerous measures that he's outlined, which measures are inconveniencing people, but people are willing to comply with in the larger good. And the only reason why that is happening is that there's a political benefit to be had from having this exercise going. Everybody is saying that the NIA must call off this activity.
I have a take on that?
They are not doing that because they have the backing of government. All it will take, and I have been in government before.
I need you to wrap up now.
I have been in government.
Yes.
I'm telling you, all it will take for an agency that is under the direct control of the president and the government is for a phone call. I'm told that the NIA is under the office of the Minister for Monitoring and Planning. All it will take is for that minister to pick up a phone and call the NIA boss and tell him to suspend it. It will be suspended.
Okay.
That has not happened
Thank you
because there's
very
a
much.
vested interest.
We do have to move on, but you will tie it into with your response to the second topic, because I really do want us to
Well,
move
but
on.
he
briefly,
had made specific allegations.
that you want to... Okay.
Yes, and
Go
there's
ahead.
the need to... he talked about the EC's CI to Parliament, and that is going to ask for passport and then the NIA. In addition to that, somebody who has already registered can guarantee for people who do not have
Yes, we know
passport nor the NIA card. So where lies... You are putting it out there as if these two documents are the only thing that is required. And that is where you are exposed on the propaganda angle.
Okay.
You understand? Yes. So whatever you put it, and you were right when you said all those things are conjectures. I mean, conjecturing. And you are thinking through all that because you think in your time, anything you do was geared towards gaining political advantage. That is not for President Kokofu. So let us tackle the issue as it is. And if we are calling on NIA to put a temporary suspension or temporarily suspend the activities, that is the issue to be dealt with. And the running around trying to rope in the president and his party and all those things for political advantage, it's neither here nor there.
Who do we hold accountable for the actions of the person in charge of the NIA?
Yeah, the NIA has an authority.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if they refuse to comply, who do we hold accountable for their actions?
Who do we hold?
Yes, accountable.
No.
If they're exposing Ghanaians to a potential threat of coronavirus that
Yeah.
you admitted earlier
Yes.
is killing thousands of people all across the world, who do we hold accountable?
No, you see, NIA is an institution that's an operation of law. What NIA is doing normally, it cannot be said to be illegal.
So
normally,
no one should be held accountable for the actions of
I'm
NIA.
coming. Normally, cannot be said to be illegal.
Okay.
Just that we are not in normal times, and we are asked to do A, B, C, D in order to help curb the spread of the disease. So I've told you, they did not just came up to say that, no, we are not going to comply. They put in place measures.
And admitted they don't even have the resources to enforce those measures. So who do we hold accountable for what NIA is doing right now?
Now, why? Have they planted any law? So you want to hold anybody accountable?
Fine. Well, we move on now to the next story.
A quick question.
EC, I do have to move on. Thank you very much. I'm reading from CitiNewsroom.com.
Right.
EC wants CI 91 amended to make Ghana card acceptable for voter ID registration. I'm reading from citinewsroom.com. The Electoral Commission has presented to Parliament a constitutional instrument to amend CI 91 to make Ghana card or passport acceptable documents for the registration onto the voters register. So I'll break it down what they said. Regulations of one of CI 91 amendment, the Public Elections Registration of Voters Regulations, A, by the substitution for sub-regulation 3 of 3A, a person who applies for registration as a voter shall provide as evidence of identification one of the following: a passport, a national identification card, or one voter registration identification guarantee form as set out in Form 1 of the schedule that has been completed and signed by 2 registered voters, and B, by the substitution for sub-regulation 4 of 4, despite paragraph C of sub-regulation 3, a registered voter shall guarantee the identity of more than 10 persons. So, Felix, I'll hear your thoughts on EC going to Parliament to amend CI of the Amendment 91.
Of course, I'll address that presently, and I have a lot to say on that. But a quick point on Mr. Kokofu's last. It's tied into this one. You see, the church, what the church did yesterday, for which reason the police went in to arrest the pastor, was not illegal. They had flouted no law. But it was wrong because they were exposing their members to danger, because they could potentially contract the disease because of the close proximity in which they were found. So the same applies to the NIA.
But that's not binding.
I'm saying
right?
that,
So
no, but why did the police move in to purport to enforce the president's directives? In the church.
Okay.
And if they are willing to enforce directives that are not binding on a private entity, how is it that an entity that over which the president has overwhelming authority cannot be reined in if they are doing the wrong thing?
Okay.
So the question you posed to Mr. Kokofu, which he regrettably did not answer or answer satisfactorily, underscores the concern that I'm raising.
Okay.
That if the NIA is not being held to account, there must be a political motive. And that motive is closely tied with this topic that you've introduced.
Okay.
Look, I have always doubted.
Your thoughts on the EC
Yeah, that's what
itself.
I'm going to do.
Okay.
I have always doubted the sincerity with the appointment of the current leadership of the EC.
Why?
I have always believed that the past leadership was removed and supplanted with this leadership for the sole purpose of ensuring President Akufo-Addo's re-election.
But the past leadership had some procurement issues. That's why they were removed.
Well,
no?
we strongly dispute that. But of course, it's in the past.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing we can do about it. But we strongly and strenuously dispute that.
Okay.
What happened was that the president abused power that he had.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he appears to have had his way.
But there were some procurement breaches. You admit that there were some procurement breaches with the past administration, right?
Would be a bit more scrutinous.
Do you admit that there were some procurement breaches?
If I listen to me, I'm saying that we reject those claims.
Okay.
And that on the face of the evidence, that should not have happened.
That's fine. Please continue.
Let's move on. But the point, the fears we expressed have finally been confirmed by the actions of the EC, especially this particular amendment that they've taken to Parliament.
What's so wrong with it?
It is a one-page amendment.
Okay.
You know, it is an old CI that has been used in previous elections, previous registration exercises. That was amended. The only amendment made was that, contrary to the provisions in the previous CI, where a birth certificate, a driver's license, and an old voter's ID card, and what have you, could be presented as a primary document of identification for the purpose of registration. They said that now only 2 is the passport and a Ghana card. Now, Mr. Kokofu says that there is propaganda on what I'm saying because I have not said that someone who is already registered can guarantee. But in the event that you are going to guarantee for me, you can only do that if you yourself have either a passport or a Ghana card.
And people have pastors and imams and
what I'm saying that
leaders who may have these things to guarantee them. So what's wrong with it?
Those 2 documents are fundamental. Okay. So indirectly, for me to get onto the register without any of these 2 documents, I have to rely on your documents. That's what I mean by those are the only 2 requirements. Okay. You cannot guarantee for me if you have not registered. The only way you can register is either through a passport or a Ghana card.
Okay.
So when I say those are the only two requirements, I'm absolutely right.
Okay.
I can benefit indirectly from your possession of those two documents if you guarantee for me. But the point I seek to make is that the EC has been so duplicitous and so insincere in this whole debate about the completion of a new register. First of all, they have never provided any justifiable reason to date as to why we need a new register.
Okay.
All they have done is to seek to carry out orders again from the
they've said that it will be more expensive to retain the older
those
one.
Claims,
so they've come out to justify. You said they did not justify. They've come out to justify why they're getting the new one.
Have been forcefully debunked with counter information that we have. It is not true.
But that doesn't discount the fact that they've come out to justify why they're doing what they're doing. But when I say we are justified,
it is not merely because you've spoken.
Okay.
When you speak must make sense. It must be truthful and must correlate with the facts as they exist on the ground. All these three requirements have not been met.
Okay. And
it is not true.
That in itself is also subjective.
No, it's not subjective. Look,
okay.
When you tell me that it will be more expensive to replace existing equipment than compiling a new one, I simply have to check the quotations and the prices.
Okay.
A simple check shows that it will cost $150 million to replace this whole system, including the registration exercise.
Okay.
Meanwhile, it will cost under $50 million to replace
I do have to wrap you up so that we hear from
But
Mr.
I'm going to a
Kokofu.
substantive point. Now, this amendment...
You really have to wrap up. Okay.
1 minute. This amendment that they've taken to Parliament flies in the face of the EC's own commitments and statements to its stakeholders.
How?
You recall that the EC set up this advisory committee made up of eminent Ghanaians, including a number of religious leaders. In the heat of the debate about this matter, they called a stakeholders conference at the Coconut Grove Hotel, to which meeting all stakeholders, including political parties and CSOs, were invited. The EC made a presentation at that event, a copy of which I have. And you see, your cameras can pan onto it and capture it. This is the presentation the EC made. Now, if you go to page 28 of that presentation, the EC itself devised what they call Q&As. So one of the questions was, is the EC discarding all previous data? And listen to the answers the EC provided. No. The EC will use the existing data of voters during the registration of voters into the new registers. New register, I beg your pardon. To be registered into the new register, existing voters need to only present their existing voters' ID card to the registration center. Existing voters would not be required to go through the same process as new voters. Their details will be retrieved from the existing database and their biometrics captured, i.e. new facial image and 10 fingerprints. This is the EC's own presentation. When the EC went before Parliament's Special Budget Committee, they were questioned specifically whether they would use the Ghana card. They said no, and that they don't trust it because, first of all, the system has not been completed. They cannot use it. Indeed, today, if you go to any bank to transact business, they will not accept your Ghana card because the system is not up and running. There are about 4 million people who have not received their cards. The EC categorically stated before the Special Budget Committee of Parliament that they will not rely on the NIA's data. Yet, they go to Parliament and present a one-page amendment which says that only a passport and a Ghana card will be acceptable for them as a means of primary identification to get registered. Dziffa, you and I know that during the Ghana card, registration exercise, people were frustrated to the extent that many people could not get onto the system. As I speak to you, there are some who have been registered but have no Ghana cards. They don't have the card. The cards have not been given to them. And yet they have barely 3 weeks within which to get it to be able to register. So this is an attempt, really, to suppress votes, to make sure that people in certain places don't get onto the register.
Thank you very much.
To the advantage of the president.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is it the case that NDC's stronghold, the national identification card, has gone through?
No, I don't.
Yeah, they know. Voter region. Your stronghold is voter region.
Very few people got the card.
Continue.
Very few people got the card.
Please.
I think that was just a rhetorical question. Please continue.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, your stronghold, they have the cards, so don't get worried. If anything,
Everyone will get the card.
yes,
Please continue
if anything,
on
your stronghold they
EC.
have. But you see, what at all is it that we need a new voters register? Once you want to change something for a new, it means you have an inherent problem or some that you need to correct.
Okay.
And here we're talking about a bloated voters register that came from first the former EC boss, Dr. Afarijan. 2, from the immediate past EC chairperson, Madame Salotose herself has said, and she's on record to have said, that her subordinate, Mr. Amadou Sule, had the chance and the impunity of manipulating the voter register to the extent that he himself took it upon himself illegally to do transfers and all manner of transactions on the voter register. So we all know as a nation that we have a sickening voters register.
And in spite of all of this, NPP still won in 2016.
Yes, of course. And that should tell you that, yes, we won, but we are not prepared and we are not happy going with that defect voters register.
How so?
We should have rather advocate for the stay of it. We should have. But from time immemorial, before the elections, we had advocated for a new voter and a proper voters register. So it is not a new thing. And we are being consistent here. We as a political party are being consistent here. That let us for once get a clean voters register.
And we're still going to go ahead in spite of this global war that we're all fighting with coronavirus.
Well, that is with EC, the authorities, to determine. It's not me here. So the point we are drawing home is that the need for voters register had always been a national issue, a national cause, and that we do want to undertake. All that you're reading, that they are the EC's own comments and all those things. I mean, we review decision and all those things many a times as you get to the finality of it. I do not see anything wrong with the two passports and then the national identification authority.
How many Ghanaians have access to these two?
A lot more. It will surprise you. A lot more.
Okay.
You have
almost 30 million people.
You're
just speculating. You don't know for a fact that I have two of them.
Yes, and I'm sure you have.
Possibly not have.
I've seen you traveling outside and in and out for a long time. Yes,
really.
Yes, and
okay.
I know.
But anyway, we have run out of time.
And I know.
So please wrap up for us.
And I know.
But I don't represent the almost 30 million people in the country.
No, we do not need to have all 30 million going into vote.
Okay.
We 18 and above. That is what we need to be.
And you can guarantee that the majority of Ghanaians 18 and above will have access to these two resources.
Are needed to be on the voter register. It is not the entirety of...
Can you guarantee that the majority of Ghanaians who are 18 and above have these two things?
Yes, if they do not have, they will have among themselves somebody who has gotten himself or herself registered to guarantee for.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry.
And you see, all these things are measures to make sure we have a better, cleaner register. If you do business as usual, you won't get anything better out of what you already have. System. Yes. Okay. So please keep your cool, since your stronghold is
Thank you very much. Yes. Henry Kokofu is the Deputy CEO of the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And Felix Kwakye, Ofosu is the NDC parliamentary candidate for Abura, Asebu, Kwamankese. Thank you for being with us as well. And thank you guys for staying. Up next, we're going to learn how to make hand sanitizers because they are so difficult to find in town. So you don't want to miss it. We'll walk you through the materials you need and hopefully we'll walk away learning how to make our own homemade hand sanitizer. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.